Well, hello zonographers everywhere and welcome to another episode. I really like getting new vintage lenses, and I especially like getting vintage lenses like this one. This lens is none other than the Jupiter 9 85mm f2. Research I've done suggests this is a direct copy of the pre-war Zeiss Sonar 85mm f2. I've read lots of great reviews of this lens online, so I was very much looking forward to taking it out for a spin. It comes in M42 mount for SLR cameras and L39 mount for rangefinders. This one dates from 1978, so it's the later coated version in L39 mount, and minimum focus distance is 1.15 meters. M42 versions focus a bit closer, but hopefully, because it's a longish lens with a little bit of reach, that won't matter too much. It has the reputation of being a good portrait lens, and it's said to be a bit soft wide open. I usually shoot wide open, and I'm not too concerned about sharpness. As long as the lens is reasonably sharp, I'm more concerned about the overall look and feel of an image and whether it has a pleasing quality or not. Build quality seems very nice. Like most Russian lenses of the era, the barrel is aluminium, which helps to keep the weight down. It's nicely finished, and because this is a later version, it has a black body, whereas earlier versions were polished aluminium. The focus ring is towards the middle of the lens, and it has a good broad grip. This one's not quite as smooth to turn as it was when it left the factory. It probably needs a little bit of lubrication, but it's okay for now. The aperture ring is at the front, just where I like it. It's stepless, so it's handy for video too, and it's nice and smooth on this one and nicely weighted, so it should stay where it's put, which stepless aperture rings often don't. I think this lens sits really nicely on the Sony A7. Because this is the rangefinder version, it only needs a small adapter, so it doesn't protrude too much and throw the camera out of balance. The M42 version is shorter, but it needs a longer adapter, so it would probably end up a similar length anyway. Here's the lens on Azure Key 3, and I think it looks pretty nice on here too. The lens is pretty long, but again, I think it looks really good and it doesn't throw the camera out of balance. Bear in mind though, if you are using this lens on a rangefinder, you'll need an external viewfinder because on these Russian rangefinders and older Leicas, there aren't any frame lines built in. The glass is in nice condition on this one. That beautiful big glass element is unmarked, and overall, this seems like a lens in really good condition. These Russian lenses were looked down upon for many years, and sometimes still are, but having used many of them over several years, I've found they're at least the equal of many Western lenses of similar age, and they're certainly better than many of the cheaper third-party lenses of the time. There's certainly no reason to look down on the Jupiter 9. This is a quality bit of kit that can make some beautiful images. It does betray its 30s roots though. It's a low contrast lens and it loses contrast pretty quickly if there's a strong light source in the frame. So it really does need a hood to get the best out of it. That lack of contrast can sometimes make using focus peaking difficult too. Focus peaking works by strong contrast, and so with this lens it's sometimes a little bit difficult to see. It's easy to shoot around this lack of contrast though, and I made what I thought were some nice images with it. I love the colour rendition from this lens. Colours are strong, punchy and vibrant without being overpowering. Perhaps that's not surprising given its Zeiss heritage, and it compares well in this regard to the Carl Zeiss Jenner 135, even though the Jenner lens is a more modern design with better coatings. Colours are rich and strong, and this lens really does make some very beautiful colour images, and it does lend something of a film look too. I love the black and white images it makes. Occasionally I find a lens that makes images that remind me of 1930s movies. The Fed 10 50mm uncoated is one such, and the Jupiter 9 is most definitely another. I'm not sure exactly how it does this. Perhaps it's something to do with its low contrast look, perhaps it's the fairly minimal coatings, but there's something in the way it plays with light that reminds me of an old David Lean film. Maybe he used Zeiss lenses too, I don't know, but for me this is a very beautiful look, and this is one of the very few lenses I know that will do it. Now, as we know, this lens is said not to be very sharp, wide open, and on a test chart it probably is slightly softer at f2 than at f8, for example, but frankly I don't really see it in day-to-day use. These shots show how much fine detail it can resolve at f2, and it's quite considerable. In any case, sharpness is only one factor in evaluating and using a lens, and I find the overall feel of the images this one makes to be absolutely beautiful. The bokeh from this lens is gorgeous, and if you, like me, like a bit of the blurry stuff, this one will definitely come up with the goods. Blur in the far background is very soft, very smooth and gentle, and shapes and forms merge into each other, getting rid of distractions and concentrating attention on the subject. It really separates the subject from the background too, and gives you loads of 3D pop. More than the Olympus 100mm f2.8, and more even than the Carl Zeiss Jenner 135mm f3.5. Blur in the near background is similarly soft and well controlled, and there doesn't seem to be any noticeable unsweet spot where things turn harsh or unpleasant. At f2, depth of field is very thin, so objects in the closer background are just out of focus and make a magical background for the in-focus elements. And if you like bubbles, you're going to love this lens. This lens is a bubble monster. It's got that sonar signature, and point light sources bloom into a wash of beautiful bubbles, circular in the centre, becoming very slightly elliptical towards the edges, and the overall effect is just incredible. As far as flare goes, this lens flares like a good un, which, personally, I rather like. And if you stop down, it makes some very cool sun stars with its no less than 15 aperture blades. I wasn't sure what to expect when I got this lens, even though it has a very good reputation. Having used it, I can say I'm absolutely delighted with it. Colours are lovely, background blur is lovely, it's entirely sharp enough, and the minimum focus distance is no handicap as it's got a bit of reach. These lenses go for around £100 to £120 or so, but they are well worth it. It's a lovely little lens, very well made, with stunning image quality and a real old school filmy kind of look too. So, that's it from me for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe and ring the bell before you go. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time for some more Zenography.